Before you ask any of the obvious questions, read the description. I answer all of them, including this. Now, Shameless Season 1. Whoa, I'm really impressed by how much I ended up liking this show, because when I first started watching it, it was quite a shock to deal with all the nudity in there, even though I had seen quite a decent amount of the L word, not so much in context, but throughout the show's history. But yeah, once I got over that shock, I grew to really love this, especially since how they were able to tell several storylines that were really interconnected, because on the one hand, you've got the Gallaghers dealing with their financial problems along with Frank. Then you've got Lip's relationship with Karen's family, of which Frank actually becomes involved with. And then you've got Kevin and Veronica, the next door neighbors to the Gallaghers, who help them out, and the Gallaghers somewhat end up helping them as well, because the only times that they ever truly needed help in that situation was when Kevin and Veronica were trying to get fake married in order to obtain that check, and then when they got the foster kid. But it's kind of interesting to see who is the more confident one, because initially whoever was more against having the foster kid seemed to be more in favor of using the foster kid in a specific way, because yeah, like Kevin said, it's a cult. Like, why else would she behave that way? Go change means have sex? Jeez. And she said that she was 13 or 14 and she had a kid? Just, oh man. I mean, like, I could have sworn I read something that said at that age she probably is able to, but oh, man. And the fact that she's not even fazed by it, like, how much work do you have to do to program somebody to be like that, even though, unfortunately, I have examples of cult-like behavior within my family. Let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into it. That would take too long, and even then, I'm about to cut those people from my life anyway. Okay. But yeah, just like, I love the interweavingness of all the plots. I do fully expect that later on in the show they're going to up the amount of characters in here, but I'm hoping that they do it at a gradual rate, that it won't feel like Game of Thrones, because for a while I did think about doing episode by episode reviews for this show, but then I concluded that I'd probably be repeating myself a lot, whereas something like Game of Thrones, I'm gonna have to do, like, episode by episode reviews for that show, and, like, I'm gonna have to take all kinds of notes, because that show, they just throw so many characters at you, it's just almost impossible. Having seen the first quarter of the show, I know, trust me. I've seen season 1, I think, 4 times, but it's been a long time. Oh yeah, and then there's also the other plot line of Ian dealing with his sexuality with Cash's family and Mandy's family. Just like, whoa, what? Like, I'd already known about the Cash storyline in brief. That's part of what got me into watching this show. How they would deal with that. Interestingly, they left it just hanging a lot more than I would expect, because after Cash shoots Mickey, even though I could have sworn that we saw his shop featured twice, we never hear from him again. So I wonder what they're going to be doing with that. I mean, like, there really isn't that much left to tell, because he finished impregnating his wife, so you could just have a throwaway line where they have the baby, and yeah, and then also him shooting Mikey, that does take care of the shoplifting issue. You know that that's not going to happen again, but at the same time, I don't know, just I feel like you have to have one more scene with that character in order to truly wrap it up. And of course, you gotta remember that he is having sex with a minor. And yeah, how do I feel about that? Well, part of me does feel sorry for him, because I mean, like, being with a woman that he might care for her, but I don't think he loves her, and obviously he's not attracted to her. And he didn't know he was gay until after he married, because in Muslim culture there's a lot of arranged marriages there, but that's also true of a bunch of Asian cultures from what I hear. And then it's like, expected that you just form attachments over time, and that works a lot better in some situations than others. Clearly, even if he was straight, I don't think it was really working here. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that his wife is white, or the fact that she seems to have more, emotional drive in the relationships, so to speak. Okay, the woman is the more emotionally driven, okay? Whatever, that doesn't matter. The fact that she's white, okay, she's white. Yeah, it's more complicated than that. So, I do feel sorry for him for that situation, but of course Ian is a minor. Now, of course, he's a minor that has exposure to alcohol and tobacco products, but so are plenty of other people. Like, you want to know when my step-siblings first started doing stuff like that? Yeah, and they've told me the PG version of those stories. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that minor issue is still there, but if Ian had been older, then I do feel sorry for the guy, but at some point you can't keep an equation like that. You gotta make a decision, and there's no decision where he comes out looking good. It's bad all around, so he has to choose what's less bad. There you go. Okay, so I am actually familiar with Emmy Rossum and William H. Macy, because I've seen them in a few things over the years, but they were more supporting roles rather than being the main characters of the show or movie that I had seen them in, and it was refreshing to see them just more than I was accustomed to doing it, because yeah, William H. Macy, he does a great job of playing a dick character in every way, shape, and form, but I will admit that bit where after Carl does whatever to his arm in that biking accident, and then arranging for Carl to deliberately crash his bike into the car that was tailing him, the moment I saw that, I'm like, oh, man, dude, you're a genius. Yes, I am fully aware that what he was doing was child abuse, and he doesn't really care about Carl's arm. I am fully aware of that, but still, I never once would have made that connection. Damn. That was good. That was my favorite moment of the whole season. And then Emmy as Fiona, she's great in here, and I love the fact that they put her in a love life situation, because she's got the very interesting dynamic of the cop who she's on a first name basis with, because I could tell even the first time that he spoke to her on camera, I'm like, yeah, that guy totally has a thing for her, and they were being really subtle about it in that scene. Yeah. But yeah, so she's got the cop that's the mostly lie-abiding guy, because taking Steve's offer right at the end when he had already bailed Lip and Ian out, dude, you should not have done that. Now, granted, he shouldn't have bailed Ian and Lip out either, but at the same time, he does know them. He knows them on a first-name basis. They know him on a first-name basis, so it makes sense. Hence, it's just one of those things that you shouldn't do it, and yet it happens. It's like Frank said at the end. He did something that he knew he shouldn't have, being the victim. Now, that does not make him innocent. It definitely does not, because did he keep it a secret longer than he should have? Yeah. Did he have proper words with either Lip or Karen? Nah, he didn't. Huh? It's just one little bit towards recovery, just like Dorian Gray, right at the end. He does something that he considers to have been good, so then he tries to see if the picture is any better. Of course it isn't, but given how long it's been since he had checked it, did he really expect anything different? Whatever. Right. Okay. But, yeah, so that's Tony. I really hope that is his name. I'll kick myself if I'm saying the wrong name on one side, and then you got Steve on the other, who is in many ways the exact opposite of Tony. He's not lie-abiding, but he can read people. He can reach out and, yes, influence, but at the same time truly understand the person that he's talking to. Because, yeah, he can try to manipulate people to doing something bad, because didn't he do that with Lip? Yes. Did he try to do that for Fiona at the end? Yes. Did he try to do that for random schmoes? Yeah. But it's interesting, because it's not so much that he makes her feel better, it's the fact that he understands Fiona. And although she's saying on the proud aspect of, we don't need your help, at the same time she understands that they kind of do. So it's interesting to see that dilemma, but then Steve's life gets way too much out of hand, and then he has to abandon the scene. And they never really resolve what happens with Tony, but of course, there's going to be more seasons of this show, so we're clearly going to figure out what happens with him in that regard. They definitely cannot abandon that issue, and of course, bail doesn't mean that the charges are dropped, it just means that they don't have to stay in jail. So Lip still could get something happening to him, even though it's possible Tony will just go, yeah, I know who actually stole it, here's some proof. He can probably cobble together some BS, but if Fiona does the testifying, that'll be good enough, especially for the show, because of course, as we know, movie and show logic don't really apply to real life a lot of the time, even when you're trying to go for something more realistic. Right? But it was just great what they were able to do with William H. Macy's character, along with Emmy, and all the other actors. They're great with having their own set of problems, unique skills, minus Liam. But if this show lets everyone age naturally, which they're kind of going to have to do, given how they're all child actors, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him, if any. And then that storyline with Frank's ex, that was great. It was infuriating to watch, but at the same time, that was great. How the hardest thing that she did was walk away from the family, even though she did realize in her heart of hearts, this is the better thing to do. And even then, you don't need a glamorous existence in order to achieve happiness. You just need people out there that love you. Like me, I've had a rich existence for basically my entire life. Now, hold on. Yes, I'm not part of the 1%, but take the 1% out of the equation, okay? Get rid of that. Suddenly I'm on the upper tier. No doubt about that. Not everyone is as lucky as me, because one of my coworkers at the grocery store that I work at, he lives with 3 other people, all of whom are employed at the same store, all of which are managers in their respective departments, all of whom earn $24 an hour and are full-time. They're just barely getting by, Huh? Right. Ooh, okay. Kind of running out of things to talk about here. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it off here. So, hope you enjoyed this review, and sorry about that edit. I reviewed a little too much family history there, so I cut it out. See you whenever.